two, and three. Okay. So all the listeners, welcome back to another episode of Growth Journeys, an initiative by PitchGround to help your businesses to get a boost in the business growth. And today we have none other than but Oliver Duffy-Lee. Oliver, first of all, welcome to Growth Journeys. How are you doing?
Hey Tushar, I'm very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing super amazing. And attendees, if you don't know Oliver Ticket, first of all, Oliver is an amazing personality because I'm not even kidding. I was going through like a lot of my LinkedIn connections and I randomly found Oliver. And I was like, oh my God, this person is doing some amazing thing because, first of all, I went through this LaunchPad Academy and I was like, okay, this is an interesting thing. Then I got to know he's the marketing director at like World Products Limited. And I'm like, oh my God. So he's doing some interesting and he have a good amount of experience. I'd say that's like the most important part. Like I think so. You have worked into a marketing agency for like 8+ years, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Straight out of university, worked for a marketing agency for 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like whenever a person has this much large amount of experience, I think so we can learn a lot of things. And that's why I just wanted to invite you. So, Oliver, I just hope you enjoyed all this whole conversation.
Yeah, me too. I'm really happy to be here, man.
Super, me. So let's just get to the conversation, Oliver. So the first thing which I do in almost every single episode or every single conversation is that the first question is fixed, and that is basically Oliver, the person who we are seeing right now with all this experience and knowledge and value. How exactly it all started, and how do you reach where you are right now? Like how does the journey of Oliver looks like? This is like the main.
Yeah. So I went to university, studied history and Spanish. Now, there's not much you can do with a degree in history and Spanish, really, unless you want to go and speak Spanish or become a historian. And I didn't want to do either of those. But I ended up getting a job as a copywriter in an agency. So that was my first job, really writing copy for events, scripts, and things like that. But soon transitioned from copywriting to selling, basically, to account management and selling. And that's really what I've done ever since, right? So we in that agency grew my clients, pretty big clients, the likes of Volvo and Porsche, FedEx, big companies like this, international companies. And soon after then, after about 8 years, left there, set up the agency at World Products with my colleague Ash. And then set up an authority agency, which is our coaching program for agency owners and also our lead gen company for agency owners as well.
Okay, this sounds interesting because like that degree part of like Spanish, that is something which I can relate, and I saw a lot of people, like there's always this question because whenever we talk about being an historian or like speaking Spanish, it's a bad thing, but majority of the time when you are doing this degree, you just don't have this thought, okay, I want to do this thing for my whole life. There are some people who have these kind of plans, but I don't think the majority have. Like, what kind of people have you found when you were doing this degree? Like, I'm really curious to know that. Like every single person was like this, that I don't want to speak Spanish or I don't want to be an historian, or there were like exceptions also or something else.
Sorry, Tushar, I lost you just for a second there. So what was the question?
What kind of people have you found, when you were doing that degree? And after that, when you got into this copywriting on sales, what was the difference, like the people who you met in college when you were doing the degree versus the people who you found in this world of marketing?
Yeah, I think one of the problems with education, definitely in the UK, is that when you work in education, you get taught in education, people teach you this idea that there's one right answer, right? That there's one way to approach something, there's one right answer. So a lot of the people that I met in a university and education setting were of that sort of fixed mindset idea. What I've done since then, since moving into marketing, since working with lots of entrepreneurs, I found a lot of people who are frankly very, very open-minded and very, very growth mindset oriented. So this means that they understand, they're much more creative. They understand there's not just one way to approach things, there's actually lots of different ways. And that for me is much more useful. And if there's one thing I think we could do to really help ourselves and help our education system, it'd be to get this idea out of people that there's one answer, there's one way to solve problems, because it really doesn't help you when you go and try and set up your business and you try and be an entrepreneur. Do you know what I mean?
I got some idea. So, when we talk about having one solution, or it is more like this, that you think or you assume that if there is this problem, then this is the only solution.
Yeah.
And because
exactly.
of that, you never explore that. What if we do this? What if there's some other solution also? You are talking about that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, one of the big things that we do is we coach agencies, right? So we coach business owners on how to grow their business. And you see them come out of the education system, and in their mind, they're like, there's one way to grow an agency. There's one way to grow a business. Well, actually, there's loads of different ways. And this idea, this mindset, there's one way, this fixed idea is really, really unhelpful. So I don't know if anyone's listening and they're thinking, I need to find the way, I need to find the answer. There's not one answer. There's loads of different answers. And experimenting things, trying things, being open-minded, this is really, really helpful in finding those answers.
But like, how do you change this mindset or change this thought process? Because a thought process is something which which they had built in the last couple of 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years, in which they have been into this education system. So what kind of things do you guys do to change it on the first place?
Well, the first thing is with lots of other agency owners. So it's really, really important exposure to you how many different ways different people are growing their business. That's really, really important. So being open-minded, connecting with other people, finding mentors or coaches to guide you is a really, really important way to do it as well. But just whatever you do, don't just put your blinkers on. Don't just focus on one thing. Be observant, look at what other people are doing and use that to your advantage. Learn from other people and how they're growing their business. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, look at to show what you're doing right now. Okay, so you're deliberately going out, you're finding people who are doing certain things, and you're talking to them about how they're doing it, and you're bringing that to your audience. Okay, that is exactly the sort of behavior that's going to give you insights, which is going to get you to move quicker, which is going to get you to progress quicker. It's really just about opening your eyes and seeing what other people are doing.
Like any specific incident which you had experienced in your life where you used this thing and you got some different result or you got the solution, like any specific incident which you remember?
I wouldn't say there's a specific incident, but something that happens in our industry a lot is agencies want to know where to find leads, right? It's one of the biggest problems that agency owners have, and actually, it's probably one of the biggest problems that any business has, service-based business has. Now, the common misconception is there's one really good way to find leads. Like maybe at the moment, cold email is the best way, or maybe at the moment, cold outreach is the best way, or maybe let's do some ads. Let's do TikTok ads. That's the new thing. Well, all of those things work, right? All of those methods work. But the thing that makes it really work is understanding who you're talking to and what message you're bringing to them, to that market, right? Now, as soon as you start realizing that there's not just one lead gen method that's going to work with you for ages, you start realizing you've got all of these possibilities. And it's about doing it properly. It's about understanding who you're targeting, understanding what message you're giving to that target, not just the one silver bullet. You heard this term before, Tushar, the silver bullet?
Yeah, I've heard this term silver bullet. I think so in the case of werewolf, like I have heard about it for the first time.
Yeah, so this is a really dangerous term. Silver bullet basically means like there's one really good way of doing something. There's one secret to growth hack everything. Well, there's not, my friend. All of these things require hard work and dedication. And this idea of the silver bullet is damaging a lot of people right now.
Okay, this sounds scary. So basically, this concept of having only one solution in itself is a silver bullet, which is damaging a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you think there's one solution and it's just going to work like that, then when it doesn't work straight away, you're going to think you're the problem.
That makes sense. Because, I think so. I was talking to this one of the agency owners like some months back only, like around Facebook ads. And he just talked about this incident where one of his employees spent around like $10,000, on this one particular advertisement. And like he spent all this money in just, like a week or two max, it was not even a month. And he was just stressed that all this money gone and there were no leads or and all. So he was just thinking maybe the person who like ran the ad had done something wrong, or like maybe the advertisement was just too bad or something, like mistakes were in our agency. But the ads should have worked, because at that point I saw the ads was one of the most hot thing which a lot of agency owners were doing to generate the leads. So I had saw these kind
Yeah.
of incidents I'd say in my life.
Yeah, 100%. So like, you know, so that person spends $10,000 on some ads, it doesn't work. Does that mean Facebook ads doesn't work? No, because people are still spending millions of pounds a day on ads, right? So it just means that that one approach with that one type of audience, with that one creative, it didn't work that time. But people don't realize that. And when they try something and it doesn't work straight away, they think about, I'm the problem, even though they haven't given it a full shot. And what you have to remember, this is another reason why you speak to people in their journey, right? Speak to anyone who's very, very successful now, and they will tell you about those times when they messed up, when nothing was working for them, and they were a complete beginner. And now they're one of the most successful people in their space because you have to go through that. And I think it's education that teaches us that teaches us all these wrong lessons, that we should be impatient and things should just work straight away. They shouldn't, my friend.
That makes sense. But you know, this actually like makes me curious to ask this question. What kind of mistakes have you done? Like one of the major ones after which you were like, okay, I'm devastated. You know, I don't have anything else to do. Something like that.
Oh man, hundreds and hundreds. I can't. I mean, there's just too many. I think one of the things that has really changed the way that I sell. Excuse me. One of the things that really changed. One of the things we teach a lot, and one of the things we're very good at, is selling, right? And especially B2B sales and at a big level, high level. One of the things that I learned not so long ago, but about 5 years ago, was that clients want you to be an authority, right? They want you to be authoritative. They want you to take the lead so that you can prove to them you're an expert and they can trust that you're going to get results for them. When I had this realization, I went way too far the other way, and I went way too far on the being an authority, and way too far on being a bit too forceful. And I lost a couple of big clients that way. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I ever made. And what I learned from that was that even if you understand there's an answer here, so we need to be an authority, there's still a balance. There's still a balance to strike in terms of what sort of authority you should strike. So, but yeah, that was a bad one, Tushar. Taking it too far, trying to be too far the other way. And you know what's interesting is there's a lot of people that ask me now, they're younger people, so like in their early 20s, and they talk to me about how do I get taken more seriously. How do I position myself as an expert so people take me seriously and actually believe that in my expertise because I'm so young? And the answer there is really, being authoritative, being prepared, and all this sort of stuff. But the truth is, you can take that too far as well. You can go too far the other way. So really understanding how you can come across an authority, know your stuff, be very prepared, but also be humble as well. That's an important thing.
So it is basically more about the balance of both the things. It's like, I mean, I think so. This is something which people should understand, that anything in extreme is going to be harmful. Like it doesn't matter what it is. And like when we talk about sales or like selling something to a person or to a company, if you would just sound too much salesy, no one likes to get sold. I personally believe, they want to be in a position where they feel like they had got a solution and now they are just paying for the solution. They are getting sold something in itself is a different experience, which I don't personally believe, or like my own perspective, that people don't like to be in that position. Like at least this is one of the perspectives I have.
Yeah, people hate to be sold to, but they love to buy, right? People love buying stuff, but they hate to be sold to. So your job as a salesperson is to make them realize that they're buying something they really want, but they don't even realize they're being sold to. But this is one of the biggest problems with sales. And honestly, I could talk about sales all day, but this is one of the biggest problems with sales. People say they're really bad at sales, right? Or people say they're struggling to close clients. 99 times out of 100, when people have that problem, is because they're trying to sell to the wrong people. And they're trying to sell to people that don't have a big enough need. So if you want to improve your sales, you need to improve your marketing, and you need to improve the type of people you're having sales meetings with. Because it's very, very hard to sell someone if they don't have a massive problem they need solving right now, right? But when you find someone that has a really good problem which you can solve, then the client goes into buying mode because they're buying the solution. They're buying a solution to their problem. And that's where they like to be. You don't have to sell to them because they're just buying from you.
That makes sense.
How's your sales, Tushar?
I'm sorry, what?
How are you at selling?
I'm selling in a lot of different manner. Like, so I won't go in too many details, I'd say, but like if you have to briefly talk about, I personally sell through content. So, I don't like, I will tell this person, okay, this is a product, this will solve your problem. I will just provide a testimonial video till some extent that this person had this kind of problem, they use this product, and now they are happy. So if you have this problem, you can always buy this product if you want to. We are not telling you to buy it, something on these lines. Other than that, of
Yeah.
course, there are a lot of things which a person can do to sell a product. Like, the ways are infinite. There's never one solution, because that's a silver bullet, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you're right. And in that situation you've just said there, your marketing is finding the right people, because no one's going to care about this testimonial if they don't have that problem already. So you've already filtered out all those people who are going to be hard to sell to. Very, 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 very smart.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, but coming back to the topic which we were going to discuss in this particular conversation was the personal branding part. Because as I can see, you had created a good personal brand of your own self as a founder of Authority Agency and the LaunchPad Academy, and like a lot of different things which you are doing on LinkedIn and on other platforms. So the personal branding part is something which you had created in a particular manner which is helping you. So like, I want to start the conversation with basically how exactly this importance of personal brand have changed in the past couple of years, because you have been into this industry for like almost 8 to 10 plus years. That's like a good amount of
Yeah,
experience. So like, how have been this
it's.
curve of change in personal brand? Like, that's the question.
I think the personal brand's always been important. I mean, influencers have been around for years now, right? Like 5+ years, probably more. So personal branding has always been important. What's happened recently is that personal branding has moved in from B2C, where it's always been. So influencers have always been around, good at selling products B2C. Yeah. What has happened recently is that influencer and personal brand has become really, really relevant in B2B. And this is what personal branding is. If you were to say, what's the difference between influencers and personal branding? Influencers probably sell products, and personal brands sell businesses. Now, why is that become important in the last few years? I don't know, but I think one of the key reasons why it's changed is because it's actually really easy right now. Most personal brands from a B2B perspective, they land on LinkedIn. That's where a lot of this happens, right? Well, let me tell you, it's never been easier to get a lot of good organic reach on LinkedIn than it is right now. And the platform itself is starving for content. It has loads and loads of consumers, loads and loads of people watching and consuming, and very, very few people posting. I think last year the number was about 3% or something like that. 3% of users are actually posting regularly. So what that means is you have lots of organic reach on LinkedIn. It really is an incredible place right now. So what's changed is more people are doing it, and it's really easy to do it right now. And I think if you are a founder, if you are a B2B salesperson or a founder, and you're not building your personal brand right now, you're automatically losing. You're automatically losing out to your competition, because your competition is going to be doing it, and they're going to be doing it probably better than you, and they're going to be finding more customers that way. Does that make sense?
Hmm? Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Can you hear me okay, Tushar?
Yeah, I think like there was some static noise, but I think so that's like clear now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the thing for B2B sales right now is super, super important. That's the main thing that's changed from our side.
But like, when did you realize this thing that in B2B, personal brand is something which is like being very impactful? I would say is like one of the major metrics according to which the sales are happening. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, we coach agencies, right? And there are hundreds that we coach, and it's very, very clear to us. We see the ones that have a founder who is working on their personal brand compared to the ones that don't. The ones that do have a founder that's working on their personal brand, they're getting about 10 times more clients, and they're signing people much, much quicker, right? So it's really, really simple, man. Like, there's all of your clients are on LinkedIn, they're waiting there for you. All you need to do is put out content which proves that you know your stuff, and most of the time they'll come to you. But even if you do go to them, even if you go outbound, then you're still going to have a hell of a lot more credibility because you're posting regularly and you're proving your expertise.
that makes sense. So basically, whenever we talk about creating a personal brand on any platform, it is more on the side of how can you prove that you have experience or you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, Tusha, there's three types of this is what we teach our clients. There's three types of post. There's three types of content out there. You've got viral content which is literally designed to get engagement, right? Then you've got value content which is designed to help you to prove that you're an expert in your field. And then you've got conversion content which is designed to help you take people in your network and book meetings with them, right? And what used to happen is people used to do a lot of value, no viral, and definitely no conversion. And when we do these three things together, we find that the viral stuff helps the algorithm to promote our stuff because that gets lots of stuff, and really that's basically personal stuff, personal stories and things like that. The value stuff proves that you know your stuff, and the conversion, basically, there's people in your network who are looking for a company like yours, gives them an opportunity to put their hand up and say, yeah, you know, I'd love to work with you.
But like as you said, we have to use all three of these, which
Yeah.
majority don't do. Majority just focus on the value, less on
Yeah.
viral, and almost none on the conversion one. What kind
Yeah.
of balance or ratio should we have in these things?
40-40-20. So 40% viral, 40% value, 20% conversion. And here's how you turn a viral post, and here's how you turn a value post into a conversion post, right? So say, so Tushar, who's your target customer? Let's create you a value post, and then we'll create you a conversion post. Who's your target customer?
A target customer, people who live in UK, USA, Canada, with at the age group of 25 to 45, like agency owners who have like experience of at least 5 to 10 years.
And what are the results you help them to get?
Result as in like,
What do you help them achieve? What results do you help them achieve?
okay, so if
What's
I'm like, if I have to give some numbers, I'd say, so like, if I'm approaching 100 people, I'm getting like 5 to 10, like 5 to 10% is still.
Okay, so you're doing outreach for, or you're doing lead generation for these agencies, right?
Outreach, yes.
Outreach. Okay, perfect. So here's a value post that you could write. So five really important tips to make sure you double your connection percentage rate or you double your response rate, right? And then in the post, you give the 5 tips. Yeah. Now you take that. That's a value post. If you take that and you say, let's make that into a conversion post. And here's how the conversion post would sound. It said, hey, agency owners, I just wrote a PDF which has 5 things you've got to do if you want to double the amount of responses you get from your outreach. Who wants the link? Now, lots of people are going to then say, you know what, I actually really want that link. I actually really want to speak to that person. And instead of them just consuming it and reading it and liking it and commenting on it, they're now speaking to you and you're in the DMs and you're talking, you start a conversation. That makes sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Like how you converted a value into a conversion. But what about the viral? Because I think so you have to like, is there a way to convert this same post into viral also?
No, not into viral, but a good viral post would be your story, personal things about you. Personal stuff tends to get lots more reach. I don't know why, people just tend to engage with it more. So stories about lessons. So a good viral post would be 5 lessons I learned setting up my company in the last 2 years, right? Going to get much more lessons. Or 5 lessons I learned growing up in this small part of this city. You know, stuff like that is more viral, it's personal, it gets much more reach.
That makes sense.
But you
I
see,
think that,
you need that for 2 reasons, right? One is you need it because people need to know that you're a human, and 2, because when you get more reach, the next time you post, which is either going to be value or conversion, LinkedIn's going to say, the last time Tushar posted, he got quite a few engagements. I reckon this one might be good as well, so I'm going to show it to 3 more people. And you get a bit of a boosted reach because of that.
okay, so it is more like this. The more reach you will get consistently, LinkedIn would think, okay, every time this person getting like a good amount of reach, let's just boost it a little bit more. Every time there would be that little bit, 0.1% boost. And like in like total after a year, that 0.1 would have been like a big number.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
That really makes sense. Like this sounds very interesting, but whenever we talk about creating a personal branding strategy, so whenever you talk about personal, it is not, I personally believe, is connected to one platform. It is more about a person. When we talk about this person, what
Yeah,
exactly comes to our mind, or what kind of brand this person have created about himself. So when we talk
yeah.
about creating a personal branding strategy, how do you create that, or like what does that process looks like?
Yeah, well, this is a mistake loads of people make, but the main thing we need to first is who are our target customers. I mean, I assume that everyone that a personal brand here, that's why you might build a personal, right? If you're doing it just to create a legacy, then it doesn't really matter who you appeal to. Still, it's going to make more sense if you try and appeal to a certain type of audience. The second type of reason you would build a personal brand is for clients, right? To get more clients and to build your business. In which case, it's so important that you know, first of all, who's your exact client that you're targeting and what are their key problems that they have, right? And if you don't know those two things, your content is going to sound incredibly wishy-washy. It's going to sound fluffy because it's going to sound like you're not talking to anyone specifically. The most important thing, the most useful thing anyone can do when building their personal brand strategy is cut away everything that is not their exact target customer. Okay. I could talk I could talk all day about football, right? I love football. But do my clients want to hear about my views on Liverpool? Probably not. I'd probably post a lot more content if they did, but I don't, and they don't. So you've got to understand what do your clients care about and feed them that. Here's another thing that people get wrong a lot of the time. Who's your favorite influencer, Tushar?
Let's just go with Logan Paul. Like right now, he's the top.
Okay, amazing. Okay, Logan Paul, right? So Logan Paul. Now, Logan Paul talks about a few things, right? He talks a lot about crypto, he talks a lot about NFTs. What else did he talk about? He
Cards, Pokemon cards, play
Pokemon
cards.
cards, right? Okay. So all of these three things, what are they? Why is he talking about them? Because you make money, right? That's what he's talking about. So Logan Paul's whole brand is around one thing. It's teaching you how he's made money online. Yeah? He just talks about one thing. Most influencers that you love, they talk about one thing. Take David Goggins, for example. David Goggins talks about one thing, stay hard, right? Gary Vee talks about one thing, really, which is designing the life you want to live, working hard and designing that life, okay? Now, you really have to know one thing. You have to talk about that one thing a lot.
Okay, that
But
makes sense.
a lot of people, they think when they go and start this journey is that they have to have loads and loads of topics they have to talk about. They don't. Your audience has about 3 seconds for you every day, maybe 5. And in those 5 seconds, you've got to deliver the same thing. For me, it's about agency growth. For you, it might be about outreach. For Logan Paul, it's about making money online. For Gary Vee, it's about designing the life you want. Pick that one thing and just go in on that thing and make sure that thing actually relates to what your clients want to hear from you as well.
Okay, so there are basically like 2 to 3 aspects. First of all, it's just selecting that who who you personally want to interact with your content, or who you personally want to know you as a brand. That's like the start. Who is going to be the audience, or the clients, or the people, or the cult, whatever you want to call it, the following. Then what exactly are you going to talk about? Just select that one thing and take every single topic around that one topic. Like that should be the center of every conversation till a good extent. If you're talking at any point, at any place with anyone, this should be the topic which you have to bring in any manner. People should know that if this topic has been took, this person is going to be the one who is going to speak about something on those
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah. Own your space, man. Own your space. And look, what you can do if you're smart is you can look at current events, you can look at what's happening in the world, and you can relate it back to your topic. That's really, really smart thing to do. But don't think you've got to come up with new ideas every single day. You don't. Just speak about what your thing, and it's okay to repeat yourself. one of my good friends and colleagues has this great phrase. We talked about forging a reputation by repetition. Forge a reputation by repetition. David Goggins says the same thing every single day. He's usually running at the same time, right? Forge your reputation by repetition.
Okay, like when you say falling reputation by repetition, like what do you understand when you like say this statement, or like in which perspective are you saying this?
Okay, so say one of the things that I want to say to my audience a lot is that agencies should have a lead generation system in place. You shouldn't be relying on referrals all the time. Okay, you understand that as well, because that's what you help people with as well, right? Now, one way I can say that is agencies should have a lead generation system and shouldn't be relying on referrals. Another way of saying that is saying if 80% of your leads are from referrals, that's dangerous. Another way of saying that is I just got off the phone with one of my clients and they were telling me since they've embedded our lead generation system, their business has doubled by this. Another way of saying it is saying, here are my top 5 lead generation methods for agencies, right? So that's 4 or 5 ways we've just made the same point. Repetition by repetition. That's what I mean. It doesn't mean you're saying exactly the same thing. It says you're finding creative ways to make the same point.
It is more about the belief, I would say. No? Like you have this one belief, one statement, one point which you want everyone to remember you. Now, how are you going to present this point? What is going to be that particular manner to present it? That's like the whole repetition thing. It won't be like
100%.
you gave this one statement, like, for example, I want to eat food. You are just repeating the statement just like you are like, I want to eat food. Another day, like, I'm hungry. Other day, this looks like a tasty food. Let me eat it. The main topic or the main point of the belief is same. It is just that there are 10 different ways to say that same thing.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. So the point is here, we don't have to keep recreating what we believe. We have key beliefs, right? And to be honest, if you're an agency, if you're a business and you have provided a service for a client, it's important that you do have a belief of the way that industry should work and the way that should go. And then it's important that you communicate it, because that's one of the big things that's going to differentiate you from every other piece of competition out there, right? The belief forms the strategy forms the execution forms the results. But the belief is really, really important. And I think a lot of people miss that, actually. I think a lot of people just go into this thinking, I think this could be a good service for this client. Let's give it a go, without having a true belief on the way that industry should go and why that's the best way to go.
So a lot of people are there just to make money, not to sell beliefs. Can we say it like that?
Of course we can. Yeah, exactly. And look, I'm not saying that doesn't work, right? But if you're trying to build a personal brand which represents your business, then you better believe that you've got to have some sort of belief or manifesto or understanding of how things should work.
And like, how did you personally select or found those beliefs, and how did you market them with your personal brand?
Well, I've been in agency world for over 10 years now, and I've got a pretty good understanding and belief of how I think things should go. And then for me, it's just about communicating it.
So like when we talk about communicating, do you communicate in the manner like when we talk about there is this one point and you are just presenting it in like 10 other manners, or there is this specific things which you keep in mind when you are promoting the belief? Because you won't be promoting beliefs every single time. You would be promoting a thought process or like a perspective now. So how exactly are you promoting the beliefs of yours or the business connecting to your brand?
I think a lot of it comes down to story. So a lot of what makes personal brands go really, really well is the amount of stories they tell. And so if you can communicate your beliefs and your career and your experiences through good stories that you've had, then that's a really, really good way to do that and to actually achieve that. But another key part of this is really that first process of understanding what your belief is and what your true, like, what do you think for your industry? I mean, If you help agency owners with outreach, Tushar, why do you think outreach is the best method for lead generation right now? What is it about outreach that makes you think this is really worth focusing on?
Okay, so like if I talk about my own self, there's not I won't say there's a specific belief on which I had started to focus on outreach, but I just found outreach very interesting. I'd say like whenever you are going to people and you are talking to them, you are understanding that what kind of people are there, what are the problems they have, and according to that, you are providing a solution. That is something which I personally found interesting and I love to do. Like whenever I'm talking to a person in some other manner, I just get to this part when I'm just trying to understand that what problem are they facing, and is there any kind of solution which I can provide to them. If there is,
Okay.
I will just talk to them and I'm like, okay, this is a solution which I have for this problem which you are facing, something on these lines.
So it sounds to me like you're someone that is very, very clear on the fact that if I can help you, I want to help you, right? And that's why marketing and sales appeals to you, right? Now, in that case, what makes outreach so good is it means that you can have a conversation with someone before you start selling to them. It's one of the only forms of marketing where you're actually talking to someone before you go to try and sell. And for you, that makes a good story. I believe that marketing and sales is about finding people that have problems and solving their problems for them. That's why I love outreach, because I can discuss with them, I can find out what their real problem is before I come up with a solution for them, right? So it's really about taking that first understanding of and analyzing yourself. Why is this a good solution for me to provide instead of someone else? And communicating that. Because the big problem right now with most people in marketing, especially agencies, is the market is saturated. And not saturated to the point where it's a problem, but it's saturated to the point where you better know what makes you different and you better differentiate yourself really, really effectively. Okay. Now, one of the best ways to differentiate yourself is through your mind and your beliefs, right? The way you think and the way you feel. And a lot of people aren't paying attention to that at all. They're just trying to sell their services. And when they do that, they end up the same as everyone else. Whereas when you communicate your mind, your beliefs, your views, your values, that's a really good way to differentiate.
I think it is also more like this, not that people don't buy the product, they buy the people. Like
Yeah.
they are going to buy from you because of your beliefs, because the same service is getting provided by 10 or 100 other people. So why to select you on the first place? The belief is going to be that differentiating factor in this saturated market. And when we say saturation, it's not like a new person can't enter the market. It is just that the major factors which used to differentiate all the companies are changed now. First, they used to be the services or the budget. Now they are more on the side of beliefs.
Yeah, differentiation has become much more complex, right? And don't get me wrong. There's still people who try and compete on price. Do you know there's a very famous marketer called Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy used to say, "There's no strategic advantage in being the second cheapest in the market," right? So unless you're the cheapest in the market, you better find another way to differentiate yourself. Yeah. And I can guarantee you that if you're the cheapest in the market for one day, the next day you're not going to be, because someone will be cheaper than you, right? So differentiation has become much more complex. It's become much more nuanced. It's become much more to do with the person, because truthfully, the person itself is one of the only things that you can't be copied, right? No one can copy me. No one can copy you. And that's why personal branding is so clever, because it talks about that differentiation every day, right? It talks about who you are, why you make things differently, why you think differently, why you get better results, and it's basically doing that differentiation piece for you.
That completely makes sense. And like this actually takes me to like one of my next question. That is basically whenever a person is creating a personal brand. Okay, now this brand is created. Now what? How to utilize this brand or this distribution or this network which we have created, or like what kind of different ways are there which people don't use normally to utilize it, like anything on those lines?
So what are you asking? How to turn your audience into clients?
Yes.
Listen, man, there's lots of different ways. We have lots of methods for that. I won't go into any of the specific methods, because frankly, that's that's quite complex and can take a while. But the thing is, you have to think about, here's a really simple thing. You have to think about, how can I start as many conversations with potential customers as possible every single day, right? So one way is just to start conversations. One way is to do outreach, but there's other creative ways that you can start conversations with people. For example, if you notice that someone is very often is liking your posts or communicating on your posts or commenting on your posts, why not start a conversation with that person? Why not see what their deal is? Why they find your content so engaging? If there's someone, if you write an article, for example, LinkedIn newsletter is a great one. You can see the companies that are reading your newsletter. And if you see them regularly, why not reach out to those people? So the thing to really think about right now is how to create an audience, how to create a community, and then how to start a conversation with as many of those people as possible each week, because that will help you keep filling your pipeline, and use that as a metric, right? So use the amount of conversations you started each week or each month as a metric that you track.
This sounds interesting, I would say. So it is more on the side of, I think, so we can say it like this also, na, that whenever you have created a personal brand, there will always be some people who will get really attached to your brand, I'd say. And they are like not the cold leads, they are basically that warm leads, which are easier to convert into the hot leads or convert into a complete client. So why not focus on them directly?
Yeah, I mean, I think in 2022, trying to turn cold leads into clients is really, really hard. Really, really hard. And so, you, through your branding, through your content, through your messaging, you need to be warming people up all the time. And you need to be giving warm leads an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm a really, really warm lead, and I could probably buy from you now. But trying to convert cold traffic into clients is one of the hardest things you can do. And frankly, Tushar, it's getting harder. Even 2 years ago, I think pre-pandemic, cold leads into clients was a lot easier. Post-pandemic, for some reason, seems a lot harder. There's been a lot more spammy outreach going on, a lot more people being lazy with their marketing and just kind of ruining the whole outreach game for everyone else. It's got to be, you've got to be warming people up. It's got to be warm leads. And that's what content's for, right? Turning those cold leads into warm people, into warm prospects.
That completely makes sense. And I know that is one of the most important thing which a content is doing for you as a personal brand.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that filtration is going on directly without you doing anything.
They used to say in old school B2B sales, they used to say a salesperson needs to speak to a prospect 7 times on 7 occasions before they buy, right? Well, we call that 7 customer touch points. Well, with content, with good content, you can quickly add like 40 touch points, because if each one of your pieces of content is a new touch point, you can add 40 in like no time. So that's why it's so important. It's building trust. It's getting people to know you, to like you, and to trust you.
That makes sense. And Oliver, that's it from my side. But like on the last note, I would like to ask you like any final wording that you'd like to give to all the agency owners or all the people who are going to listen to this podcast around to create the personal brand.
Yeah, start now. Otherwise, you'll really, really regret it.
Oh my God, that's like an interesting point to end today's podcast. And Oliver, once again, thank you so much. All the attendees, thank you so much to be there and to listen to this podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to check out Oliver on LinkedIn. I would drop all the links around of Oliver's social media in the description. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Until then, bye bye. Bye, Oliver.
See you guys.